morning. It's July 2nd. Out here at some pumpkin weed control plots. I'm Tony Dabbles with the Ohio State University Research Specialist in Weed Control, and out here to talk about some treatments that we put on some pumpkins this year. Basically, this was started with the registration of Reflex or Famecifin last year, so we've started doing some weed control just to look into that and see if there's any adverse effects with the Reflex or additional benefits in weed control with Reflex. So we'll start out today with our untreated check. We have 10 plots to go through. Our untreated check is basically what we compare each herbicide treatment to. So the weeds we're evaluating in this trial are giant foxtail, barnyard grass, common lamb's quarters, redroot pigweeds, eastern black nightshade, and Venice mallow. So with that, we can see we have a pretty good weed pressure, and we'll move on to our first herbicide. Okay, so here we are in plot number 2, which is our first herbicide treatment, and that is Sandia or halosulfuron at 1 ounce. What halosulfuron or Sandia is known for is very good lamb's quarter control. So in this trial, we had 4 replications. So in every replication, the Sandia had 100% control of common lamb's quarters. And then one thing that Sandia might not be known for is grass control, but we had pretty good herbicide activation with rainfall right after the application, and we are getting some grass control with the Sandia, and I don't know if that should be expected or not, but it's still pretty inconsistent throughout the trial. And I know Jim's going to come back later and shoot each one of these plots, and we can see there's areas of low pressure where we had good control, and then if there was high grass pressure, the control really tends to slack off a little bit with the Sandia. Then we also took phyto ratings for chlorosis and stunting, and as we know, Sandia can cause some stunting in the pumpkins, and we saw this out here quite a bit with the Sandia, around 15%, but one of the things that we discussed this morning too is that possibly some of that stunning with just the straight Sandia could be coming from the weed competition, because as we can see, we're getting very good control of the common lamb's quarters, but not too many of the other weeds. So some of the weed pressure might actually be causing some of that stunting, not just from the Sandia. So now we're in plot 103, which is dual or metolachlor at 1.3 pints. And one thing I'd like to point out first as we go through this plot in our trial is we had a running weedy check, and it was getting out of control, so it got sprayed off with a non-selective herbicide, but it also had some residual with it in Strategy, which has the command or clomazone, which can volatilize and likes to turn everything white. So that's kind of what we see going on here with the Venice mallow and the giant ragweeds. They're kind of turning white, but that's from the command that was in the Strategy that we put in the untreated check area. So with that, I'll get back to the dual, and what dual's known for is really good grass control and control of the amaranth or pigweed species. So we've got virtually perfect control of giant foxtail and barnyard grass, and really good control of the pigweeds, and we fall off a little bit on the lamb's quarters. We had really good control of the eastern black nightshade with the dual, but as you'll see in the plot, it just isn't controlling the Venice mallow. So with that, it's doing what it should, and pretty clean plot overall except for the Venice mallow. Okay, so now we're up to plot 104, which is Strategy at 4 pints. And Strategy is probably the premier pumpkin herbicide. It's actually a combination product. It contains clomazone, which is the active ingredient in command, and it contains ethofluralin, which is the active ingredient in sonalan. And I'm not really a pumpkin guy. I'm work more with corn and soybeans, but both of those products are labeled for soybean weed control, and it's interesting to me because the Sonaland has to be incorporated with tillage or irrigation afterwards, and the strategy herbicide does not require that. They're just relying on rainfall. So we did have pretty good rainfall here. Command is known for being really good on grasses and lamb's quarters and some of the small-seeded broadleaves, but its biggest downfall is pigweeds. So the ethylfluralin or Sonaland component of that should be helping out with the pigweed. So when we look at this plot later, we'll see that we've got really good grass control, but even with the ethylfluralin in there, we still have a few pigweed escapes. We're doing pretty good on the common lamb's quarters, but then we still have a few of the Venice mallow coming through, and then not quite as good control of the Eastern Black Nightshade out of this product alone versus like the dual or anything with the dual components in it. Okay, so plot 105, this is what this trial was all about, and this is our Reflex or Famecifin, and this is at a half a pint. And as I stand here, you can probably look and see that a half a pint of Reflex is not going to do much on its own. So, as expected, we're missing all the grasses. We would hope to be picking up some of the small-seeded broadleaves. We are getting a little bit of activity on the pigweed and the lamb's quarters, but we're pretty much missing the Venice mallow and the nightshades with this half pint rate. So again, like we had this last year, the half pint's just not cutting it. Okay, we're plot 106 now, and this is the Reflex or Famecifin at 1 pint. So this is what we'd probably be recommending if you wanted to use the Reflex. One of the concerns with any new product is the phytotoxicity or injury to the crop, and throughout this whole trial we haven't seen any injury from the Reflex by itself, so I think we're pretty confident on this variety of pumpkin. It's pretty safe. On to weed control, at this higher rate we're getting really good control of the small-seeded broadleaves as expected. We might be once again missing a little bit on the nightshade and the Venice mallow, but overall pretty good weed control. And then one thing that surprised me, this product has also been registered in soybeans for a number of years, and we're getting pretty consistent and good grass control throughout this trial with the pint of Reflex, and that's something I need to do a little more investigation on and ask some other researchers what they've seen, because to me that's pretty unexpected to see this level of grass control from a pint of Reflex. But you know, it could be possible. It's providing good grass control in here, but pretty unexpected in my opinion. Plot 7, this is a combination of Reflex and dual. So the Famecifin and the metolachlor. It's interesting to me because there's a premix that we have for soybeans called Prefix, which is that tank mix in one jug. Like Strategy is a combination of two products. The Prefix is a combination of the Reflex and the dual. So now we've got the benefits of both of those products. So as we noted, the dual was a little weaker on the lamb's quarters and the Venice mallow, but we had the Reflex with it, which was picking up all those small-seeded broadleaves, and we have that additional grass control from the dual. We've got a really nice plot here. This is probably one of the cleanest or most weed-free plots within this trial. Okay, plot 108, and I think I failed to mention this with the dual and the Reflex, but now we're looking at Reflex and Sandia. So we're looking at tank mixes with the Reflex. The Reflex always is going out at a pint. So now we've got it with 1 ounce of Sandia. Once again, a nice clean plot. We're picking up almost all the small seeded stuff like the pigweeds and the lamb's quarters. And once again, unexpected to me, but pretty good grass control in here with those 2 products at those rates. And then one thing I did want to point out is that we can have that stunting from the Sandia. So now when we're tank mixing the Sandia with the reflex, we've got that stunting back again. And it's probably hard for you to tell in a video of me standing in front of these plots, but they're probably 10 to 15% smaller than most of the other fruit in this trial. Okay, so plot 109 here, getting towards the end. Seems like the further down we get, the better the weed control gets. But this is a combination of reflex at 1 pint plus strategy at 4 pints. So, like I said, strategy is probably our go-to for pumpkin weed control. And now we're adding the benefits of the reflex with it. And we've almost got a weed-free plot here. Like I said, we had a weedy check in the middle that's been sprayed out, so you'll see some tall weeds like a common lamb's quarters and some fall panicum and even some mare's tail sticking up beyond the plot. But when you look down the treated area in this plot, it's virtually weed-free. We did miss a few of the eastern black nightshade, but we're virtually controlling all of the grasses and all the small seeded broadleaves. There's no pigweeds or lamb's quarter in this plot. Virtually controlled all the Venice mallow, and the only thing we're losing control on is just a few of the nightshade, but really clean, nice plot here. So this is treatment 10, the final treatment in this trial. It was actually just a herbicide treatment to kind of round out this trial to 10 treatments, and this is something that I've had some interest in for the last few years. We do a weed screen every year for our weed science collegiate team. We realized that this newer product, Sharpen or saflufenicil, was not injuring the pumpkins, whereas we spray about 35 different herbicides and there's only about 2 or 3 that don't injure the pumpkins. So that piqued some interest quite a few years ago. So it's not causing any stunning or injury to the pumpkins. So what our actual treatment here is the 1.3 pints of metolachlor plus 2 ounces of Sharpen or saflufenicil, and I'd have to say this could be the cleanest treatment in our trial. And I do have to state, currently this product is not registered for weed control in pumpkins. I have no idea if the company BASF, who produces Sharpen, has any intentions of ever getting it registered for pumpkins, but I'll leave it with that. It's not a registered compound for pumpkins, so please don't start using it. In summary of the trials here, we're between pretty much a weed-free pumpkin plot and a really weedy plot. And it's just kind of to sum up what we can have or what we can end up with. And we see here when we don't control our weeds, we're going to end up with stunted pumpkins. We're probably going to have reduced fruit production. We're going to be replenishing our seed bank for next year. So, you know, with these 10 treatments that we had out here, there's several single modes of action that provide control of a few weeds, but not all the weeds. So, you know, the weed control principle is the same for whatever crop we're in. In corn and soybeans, the best products we have usually have 3 modes of action. We have grass control, small seeded broadleaf herbicides that are going to control a different realm of broadleaf weeds, but when we add those 3 modes of actions, we get really good weed control overall. And I think we were seeing the same thing out here today in our pumpkins. Those single modes of actions just aren't going to control all the weeds out there. If you think all you've got is grass in your field, maybe you can get by with dual, but Most of us are going to deal with broadleaf weeds also. So we saw like the dual reflex looked really good, but you know, the real standout in this trial was probably the strategy with the reflex. So, you know, once again, we've got 3 different modes of action there working on those weeds, and you know, by far superior weed control with those 3 modes of action. So you just kind of have to ask yourself what you're looking for and what you're willing to put up with.